you're somebody who's thinking about doing either a software development agency or some kind of dropshipping or e-commerce venture, this video might be for you. I have dipped my hands in both, though in e-commerce only very briefly, and in software development companies, well, I've been doing mine for just under 3 years. I'll start by going through the pros and cons and the good and bad things about the software agency, and then the good and bad things about e-commerce. And I will say, I think overall, generally, if you can and have the software development capabilities, software development agency is better. But I want to explain my reasoning. So in a software development agency, the pros are, obviously you can start without any costs, and you can hire people only when you have a project paid. You can network your way into very, very large deals. So what I mean by that is, if you get in the right communities, you do not need to do loads of cold outbound or loads of ads or anything like that. You can network your way to 7 figures. I've seen people do it, but that's not also as easy as it sounds. I am not at 7 figures, for example, but there is certainly a possibility if you have access to the right places, and it's just a case of getting specific enough. The difficulty of a software agency is that you need to get specific into a problem that you are very good at solving. Otherwise, you will have a lot of difficulties. Loads of software agencies out there. There are loads, right? There's no taking that away. But if you are able to get very specific into something that you're very good at, you can do very, very well for yourself. And I've seen many, many people do this. And one of my biggest mistakes was not getting specific enough. And it cost me a lot of potential earnings. On the e-commerce side, the nice thing is obviously maybe you have a physical product. And I think it's really cool to be able to order samples and give to people. I really, really like that. I have some friends who do physical product companies. But the downside, and I think this is the main reason I wouldn't start with it, is because of the ad spend and the startup capital. So you need to source products, and you probably want to test a couple, right? Order a couple, maybe it'll run you back a few bucks. It's nothing major. Then you got to run ads, and you got to test several ads until you find something that works and obviously generates profit and revenue and all those things. And to get to the ad that works, if you're running ads for the first time, you're probably not going to be amazing at it. And so you're going to take time to learn how to run ads, unless you've worked in kind of consumer goods space before and you know how to run ads very well. In that case, maybe that's a great space. But even then, you need to spend some money, usually I think at least a few $100, but I don't think I've seen anybody actually make that happen successfully with a few hundred. Usually you get into a few $1,000 first, and then something hits, and then the cash starts rolling in. But even then, what I've heard from a lot of dropshippers who've done it for longer, because I tried it, I did a very brief stint. I stopped because I didn't want to spend money on ads. I didn't have money to spend on ads. I have heard from a lot of people, like, you have to keep chasing that next product when you do dropshipping. And if you want to do e-commerce, you got to order a bunch of stock. I think in the long run, both business models are very comparable. But in the short term, depending on your situation to start with, I think if you do not have capital, and if you have software development capabilities, software development agency is way better, because it is also more unique in that not anybody can do it. You need some level of hard skill to get started. Whereas in e-commerce, there are a lot of entrepreneurs flooding that space right now. It's very busy, there's more competition, and that just means it's harder to succeed in that. Now in software development agencies, there are loads of them already, granted, but if you get specific, you can do super, super well, and there are more barriers to entry. Right, so if you get specific at something where you have a little bit more experience or you have some special distribution angle, you will be able to outperform others. In e-commerce, I think you're more replaceable in that way, especially if you do something like dropshipping, because somebody else can find the same product as you and just replace and do better marketing, spend more on ads, whatever it is. They can kick you out of the market by doing that, right? There's no unique advantage that you have in that space, potentially, unless you build brand and stuff like that. But I think that's a longer term thing. I think both can work. It's just worth considering if you're deciding between the two. One of them is going to require more startup capital and stuff like that. And I think the other one's a great option. If you have the hard skills that other people don't, do something that other people can, so that you're not as easily replaceable. That's my thinking, at least. I started a software development agency without putting any money into it, so that worked out pretty decently for me.